Oh, welcome. I'm very excited to introduce two guests to be speaking about the power of HGH Somaderm, especially for doctors and the patients you serve. So let me share about who we have coming on to bring you the brilliance of HGH Somaderm. We have Lisa Vavori. She's going to be leading the interaction with our doctor. So Lisa Vavori has a vast background in finance and business. She's going to share a bit about her background as she goes along. A degree in economics. She was right out of school. She was a monetary policy analyst for Federal Reserve. She got her MBA at Emory, and then a VP of marketing for AIG. As an entrepreneur, she got into nutrition. She opened the first acai bowl cafe, and she comes from a medical family. So she's got a vast range of experience and understanding, and she's been just kicking it with this company and only been with it for 4 months and already at an extraordinary level. That's the power of what's here. And then Dr. Michael Wax, a longtime medical physician, respected in Atlanta, Georgia community, and executive of his own business, CEO of Injury Specialists. So I'm going to toss it over to Lisa and Michael. There we go. Hello. All right. And so I'm going to just have you guys both share a little bit, Michael, about your background a little bit more, and then also how you came across this product. Especially you as a doctor, you have to be always very careful about what you take on. And then Lisa, so I'm going to toss it to you both, and please do share.
Great. Thank you so much, Lynn, for the introduction. Just a little bit about the business. Yeah, I have a medical family business background, but we really wanted to focus on, we have so many medical professionals joining our business, and we are getting we're growing at an unprecedented rate, and we're getting a lot of questions and requests for medical professionals who are in the business to speak to other medical professionals. And so, Dr. Michael Wax has been a very, very successful physician. He's got an impeccable track record as a physician. He's also doing amazing things in this business and bringing on a lot of very well-respected healthcare professionals to market this product and to present it to others as well. And so we're going to get his input both in terms of who he is and understand what attracted him to this business and how and what he's saying to physicians and why so many are joining. So with that, Michael, you are both a medical professional and an executive. Can you just give us a little bit about your medical background to start, and then we'll talk about what injury specialists, leading up to injury specialists and what you do now.
Sure. Well, hello everybody, and so I moved to Atlanta, Georgia back in 1993 to pursue a degree in chiropractic care, graduated in 96, and my first real job outside of school was the 96 Olympics, taking care of the U.S. track and field team during the Olympic Games. And then I launched into a career of 21 years of owning 4 different practices that are multidisciplinary, meaning I had medical doctors and mid-level nurse practitioners and PAs and a whole host of other physicians all under one roof to provide care for people that are injured in a variety of different ways, sports injuries, traumatic injuries of all different kinds. And I've always been on a quest, when you deal with people that are in pain and hurting on a regular basis, to provide the best care, the most up-to-date treatments, and any kind of formulation that would reduce inflammation and get their body healing in the most optimal way. So my career has taken me to a variety of different places. I retired from practice in 2014, sold my practices, and I had created with a partner of mine a trauma network here in Georgia called the Injury Specialists, and it's Georgia's largest private trauma network. We have some 300 different physicians, practices, hospitals, surgical centers of all levels, neurosurgeons, orthopedic surgeons, pain management doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists, and many other allied health professionals, all treating injuries and trauma at many different levels. So when I got presented this gel, I really didn't know its applications. I was familiar with HGH, but really no more familiar than a lot of other people. So I had to do a little research. I had to do a little digging when it was presented to me. And I will share with you how astounded I am in just a short period of time, not just my own personal testimony, but people that are near and dear to me. And we'll kind of cover that. But I'm going to let you kind of ask me a few questions, Lise.
Okay, yeah, because you covered a lot of ground there, which is great. I mean, and so can you talk a little bit first about how, why were you even open to taking a look at this product? I assume as a, given your stature and your background, that you've been approached with a lot of products over the years. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, I've been approached with a lot of things, and quite frankly, I'm probably no different than any other doctor out there, regardless of their background or specialty. I think physicians come from a place of skepticism. We're scientists in many forms and fashions, and skeptics about making sure that if we're going to recommend something to a patient or to a colleague, that it has to be something that we can stand behind. So quite naturally, I was a skeptic. Quite naturally, I was reserved about this and didn't jump in initially until I had validated some things that I thought were important.
Can you say a little bit about what those things were and the process you used to do your research?
Yeah, well, first I wanted to go back and research as much as I could on growth hormone and what it was doing in today's marketplace, what it was doing in today's allied health professionals, who was prescribing it, endocrinologists, and what other types of physicians for what other types of conditions. So when I started to go through it and realize, hey, this is a very commonly prescribed product or medication when it's in the medication version, what conditions and why, what are the side effects, and what are the delivery systems, what are the costs to the consumer, why would a doctor prescribe it, would a doctor not prescribe it, what are the alternative options out there. So I went through a series of things that I needed to go through to understand what this was, why this was different in a transdermal gel delivery system versus the traditional injectable form, and what that meant for the average person who could get access to this. And as I went through everything that I needed to go through as a doctor, as a physician, then I started to think about what my other physician friends would ask, be interested in, especially ones that are not in my background, not in my specialty, and maybe they are even more cynical than I am. So I needed to go through some question and answers internally so that I was prepared to answer the questions they would ask.
Right.
Can I
That makes a lot of sense. So
can I dive in there, Lisa? I'm sorry. And I'm still here. I'm just taking myself out to keep the focus on you guys. But I also come from a medical family. My dad was a leading orthopedic surgeon and focused on scoliosis. And I know he, like you, is like, must make sure you're checking every little aspect. You aren't going to take something lightly to let other folks know about. And I know Lisa comes from that type of family. So appreciate the care and concern that you came at that with.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michael, can you say a little bit about what you found? I mean, some of the big questions that we hear over and over from medical professionals are, well, how, one of the top questions, of course, is, well, how can this little bit of HGH make such a, is it even possible that it can make a difference? Did you have any background in homeopathy, and what did you do to satisfy yourself on that front, and how do you address that question when it arises as you're introducing the product to other medical professionals?
Well, I had a little background in that we ran in my own practice. We had a physical medicine side where we took care of the traumatic injuries, and then we had what's called a functional medicine side of practice where people were coming in with a whole host of inflammatory disease processes and issues and conditions, and our goal was to eradicate what was causing the inflammation, and what we were using was a variety of different supplementation homeopathy products. So I was very familiar with those. I just wasn't necessarily familiar with this particular product. So I had to go through the same process I did with everything else I've done in my career, which is to take my time, ask a lot of questions, validate it all the way up the chain. And in my case, I decided to go directly to New Life creator and actually ask him in person when I went to the events some questions, and I was able to get answers and bring that back to our team here in Atlanta to share with them. So in general, there are going to be doctors that are skeptics. The one thing I will say about doctors is this, and Lisa, we've never touched on this. Physicians of all specialties are watching the insurance companies reduce their reimbursements year after year after year. And this has been going on for a long time, but it happens in different phases in different parts of our country. And so it's happening on the East Coast. It really started on the West Coast, as a lot of trends do, and they kind of move eastward. But insurance companies keep cutting reimbursements of physicians. So physicians of all specialties are literally searching for other revenue streams in their practices. They're bringing in things that they had never brought in before because they're realizing in order to survive in today's marketplace as a doctor, if you're solely relying on insurance companies, you're going to run into an issue and a challenge along the way. And so as they are reaching out to me for my own company, the injury specialist that I run, I thought that this was a great pivot point to offer them another opportunity to not only have a great a product for their patients that does a whole host of things, but also a revenue source for those that were interested.
Okay, great. And we definitely will touch on that business side. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to go back first to your comments about asking the founder certain questions, because clearly you've done some research that others can't do. And, there are two things I'm going to ask you to address. One is, of course, a lot of physicians and a lot of people in general ask for white papers. And I'd like you to touch on why we don't have white papers, why this company will never have white papers. And how can you feel good about this product if you don't have a white paper and specific targeted studies? Secondly, if you can also really share with us what you learned from talking to the product formulator, so that not every physician has to go himself or herself to speak with the founder. So if you can share kind of on, maybe you want to start with what you learned from the founder and then touch on the white paper topic.
Right. Well, I think there's a couple questions that come up. Is how does a gel enter into the bloodstream, and how does the molecule, the HGH molecule, which is a very large molecule, actually pass into the dermis and subdermis? And again, that's not my background, it's not my specialty, so I had a lot of questions to ask, probably foundational questions. And what I learned from the creator is that they have a carrier molecule, and that carrier molecule attaches to the HGH and allows it to pass through the dermis and subdermis that then enters into the bloodstream. And so I know it's a proprietary blend. Obviously, that's what he created. It took him a long, long time to figure out how do you actually get the carrier molecule to attach to the HGH and then pass through the dermis and subdermis. And what he said to me is, listen, the cosmetic industry has been doing this for a long time. There are a lot of cosmetic products, and for those that use cosmetic products, which are majority females, women, they understand that they have carrier molecules that can penetrate into the dermis and subdermis. So he created that formulation that did that. And again, there are going to be some folks that question that, and I guess for their own comfort level, we have the ability within this organization to get right to the top and get good answers to come back to them. But to pivot to the next question, which you asked me, what about white papers? What about double-blind studies? What about these things? Why aren't we doing that? Well, the goal here was not to create a medication, not to have something that could only be accessed through medical professionals, but really for the average person to get access to this homeopathic formulation. The fact that it is a homeopathic formulation, which means it's distilled down to the largest amount it can be just before it's considered a medication, but it's distilled down 30 times, 30x, is how this is a supplement. And so as it's created or treated as a supplement, we're not going to have white papers on the supplement. And it took me a while to really wrap my mind around that because, physicians want to know, why not? Why not? And they think there's some sort of um, that the company would be hiding from this information. Truth be told, I just talked to a physician uh, who is in hormones and weight loss, and he did test some of his patients that were on this. Because the product really just raises your IGF levels 1 to 5% on average, which is kind of below the radar. And your body absorbs and uses what it needs on a daily basis. It's not pushing past the physiological norm. So it's not trying to get you to superhuman status. It's just trying to optimize your levels to get you to where you were when you were in your early 20s, and that's it. And so I don't think the company really is concerned about doing white papers because it is going to stay within a supplement formulation so the masses can access this and not be restricted to only medical professionals.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So actually, in fact, doing any type of study would really jeopardize the masses' access to this product, and there is no other product like it. And also, the reality is it's a balancing product. It's not a targeted. It will fix this. It will fix that. It does help a lot of people in a lot of arenas, but we can't say for sure what it will do for any one person. What happens when the body's optimized and when hormones are optimized. Can you say a little bit about the adrenal and thyroid support and where you see those fitting in with this product? How this, if you could just comment on the homeopathic formulations for the thyroid and adrenal.
Well, one thing I'm going to say is when I was in practice and we were running our functional medicine division, the vast majority of patients that were coming in with conditions have a thyroid and an adrenal malfunction. And, there are so many different symptoms that present with a thyroid issue, from loss of hair and skin issues and feeling tired all the time, GI complaints, and a whole host of other things. And so the fact that the formulator created a product that also addressed and helped to balance a thyroid and adrenal issue is honestly, it's magnificent. And I will comment if we have time about my own personal family's responses to this product in just 3.5, almost 4 weeks now. But at the end of the day, I think, it's the adrenal support and thyroid support that the body responds favorably to first. And then it takes a while for the body to start producing the growth hormone some many months later. So I would say to the average person that's looking for this product, you've got to plan to be on this for 4 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, somewhere in that range before you can see a whole cascade of positive effects. Don't try to think that you're going to be on this product in 2 weeks and everything is going to magically change. You got to let the body balance itself out slowly over time. That is the purpose of homeopathy. Little bits in the body that the body recognizes and slowly builds its levels up.
That's right. That's great. So I do want to go ahead and get to both. You should definitely share your personal experience because, when you have a personal experience, it makes it so much more real. So why don't you just say a little bit about your experience and that of your family?
Well, I'm not going to talk about my own personal just because it's not as miraculous as my sister. My sister, just on Friday of last week, went through a massive surgical procedure. It's a bariatric procedure. It's a gastric bypass surgery for those that struggle with their weight. And she went through what's called a resection, where they actually cut the stomach down and only allow 3.5 ounces into the stomach. And I had a family reunion where I gave my sister a bottle and started her just around 2.5 weeks before the surgery. And prior to the surgery, just 2 days prior to the surgery, she and I got on the phone and she told me she could not believe the energy that she was feeling in the morning that literally engaged her to stay active. And for those that struggle with their weight, specifically, yes, I know it really is exciting. Those that struggle and that are on the larger side, they really have a hard time taking action steps when it comes to exercising themselves. And she couldn't have been more ecstatic. But what was really exciting was what happened directly after surgery. And I said to her, please use this product up until you go into surgery, and then when you come out. Within an hour to 2 hours of her coming out of anesthesia, she asked the nurses on the floor, could she walk the floor? And they kind of looked at her in a bewildered manner, saying, nobody asks after this surgery to go walk the floor. Well, she proceeded to walk the floor 3, 4, 5 times that day, again 4 or 5 times the next day. And when, from a hospital setting, in order for a hospital to release a patient, there's a few baselines that they have to pass. Number one, they have to be able to walk on their own. Typically, the nurses like to see you walk around the floor of the nurses' station. And two, they have to be able to go to the bathroom on their own. Those are two vital things that they want to know that you can do without being released. My sister was released on Saturday or Sunday. I talked to her yesterday. She is off all pain medicines. She's off the lidocaine patch. She's not taking anything. And she went out and walked 2 miles yesterday. She's going to be meeting with her doctor tomorrow. And here's the exciting thing. She had planned, the doctor said, plan on 3 weeks being off from work. And she also hired a part-time nurse's assistant to come out and help her. Well, not only does she not need the nurse's assistant, she's off all the drugs. She thinks that she's going to be going back to work next Monday. So she's not going to be off work. She's not losing the income that she was going to have from being off work. But more importantly, she's off these drugs, these very strong narcotics that we have an opioid crisis in the U.S. And this is another reason why I'm so excited about this. From just a pain perspective, if you can get, as a physician, off these opioids, you are winning. Your patients are winning. The community is winning, and we, as a nation and a world, are winning. And that was what really excited me about this. Is I deal with pain in my network at all levels on a regular basis. So how can I present something that my own network of providers could literally recommend to their patients to help them get off the opioids? I'm just so excited about that, and to see that with my own family, almost instantly, and that's what's so exciting about this.
Right, and there are a couple things I'd like to add. That is an extraordinary story, and from my bird's eye view in this business, that is what has made this so incredibly exciting. Is honestly, I hear stories like this from people I personally know, or different stories. It could be some, and again, we talked about the fact that this is not a cure, and we don't know what it's going to do. But when you allow the body, enhance the body's ability to heal itself, it's amazing what happens. So we have to be careful about our language. It's not a drug. It doesn't cure pain, but you just never know what people are going to experience. So we just have to be very, very careful about being compliant in our language on this. But for me, it is these stories that I hear every day. And now, on my team alone, I've got over 3,300 people, and people are now, as people get started on the product and they're on a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, a few months, the stories that we're getting in are extraordinary, and we have to be careful about telling them, because we also, as you said before, Michael, we have to manage expectations for, that it's really a 6 to 12 month evolution in this product. But some of what we hear is quite extraordinary. Let's talk a little bit now about the business side of this. Let's just say, let's not go into depth too much. There are a few things I want to mention, because I know that when medical practitioners and look at entering into, it's one thing to love a product, it's another thing to carry it in your business. And once you've checked the box that says, yes, I know this is a real product, and I know that it actually may be a very useful product to many of my patients, the next thing is, does it make financial sense for me to introduce it into my practice? Can you address that for us, please?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say this right off the bat, and forgive me, but I don't think that everybody is going to immediately embrace this, just because people come from different angles, they come from different places, and it depends on where you catch them. For me, it was a perfect time, and the fact that I have this giant network in Georgia, I thought this would be great. The truth is, I haven't really even gone out to the people that are in my network at this point. I'm so busy talking to people that have been in my lives longer and I wanted to really reach out to them first. So I have a lot of people that I haven't been able to get to as of yet. I can say this as a physician, physicians, if they're going to put this in their practice, they're going to ask some questions. And from a company standpoint, we have a medical advisory panel that is filled with endocrinologists and oncologists and regular physicians. I know that on my own team, I just brought in an anesthesiologist, DO, just in the last 24 hours. And he told me specifically, Michael, I am so excited about this because in the 80s, he was on a similar product in the marketplace and then it disappears. It was a HGH product. So when I told him about this, shared this with him this week, he had absolutely no reservation about moving forward because he remembers how great he felt decades ago. You're going to find that a lot of practitioners are going to embrace this. But you're going to run into some reservations with some. And that's what I want to prepare folks to say. Number one, you have resources like myself and other people within our group that you can depend on. And then Lisa, because you're higher up in the organization and have deeper context than I do, you could reach out to folks from naturopaths and homeopaths and other folks that could offer information either in a thread or by a phone call. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of health practitioners inside this organization on the product, have verified it and tested it before they're going to promote it or recommend it. And that's why it's so exciting.
That's right. Well, thank you. And again, go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing I want to share, this product has been out for 14 years. So this is not new. Okay. So for those that think this is new, no, the way it's being brought to America at this point is new in the way they're taking product to market. But the product isn't new. It's been out for 14 years. And it was really created for athletes. It was created because Alexi, the creator, was very close friends with the Gracie family from Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Now, I happen to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. I just got my purple belt 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I asked him specifically when I was in Florida, and I said, I really want to know how this started. And he said, and I said, I heard it was related to you working with the Gracie family and their athletes with the goal of making sure performance athletes, competitive athletes that were using injectable anything, testosterone growth hormone, had another option that was easily accessible, that wasn't pushing them past those physiological norms and didn't have the side effects. So that's why he created this. And I was really excited to verify that because, again, I do jiu-jitsu 5, 6, 7 times a week, depending on my weeks. And I thought that was just so exciting because I understand how competitive the sport that I am challenged with on a regular basis as a 50-year-old man competing against 20 and 25 and 30-year-old people. And I'm holding my own quite well. So I'm really grateful for this product.
Very cool. And also just it's interesting to note that the FDA got involved with the company 7, 8 years ago, and he had, and forced Alexi to go through a process by which he's now gotten a registration on this product. But the FDA limited his production of this product for 7 years, and only after ascertaining after years of no complaints and side effects reported that it was safe was that limitation lifted. I believe it was February of last year, 2017. So that was really, now he had the opportunity to scale up and to offer it out. From a business point of view, I also want to note for healthcare practitioners that the fact that this product cannot be sold on Amazon or eBay. So if someone walks into a medical practice and sees it on the shelf, they really don't have a lot of options where else to go buy it, and they can't go get it at a discount. Only practitioners and others are allowed to purchase this at a steep discount.
Right, that's correct.
And so it makes it very attractive for retail. So, that is a realistic concern, and it's worthy of mention. So, on that note, I think, probably, is there anything else that you want to add at this point? I really appreciate your time today. we have, this is just, we're only 4 or 5 months in. I am only 4 or 5 months in, and we have so many people asking. So this is going to help many, many medical professionals as they take a look at this, and really appreciate your time. And Lynn, thank you for putting this together for us, because, you are the Lynn Rose wow factor woman. We're so lucky to have you working with us on our team.
Well, from my perspective, I'll just say this. I was a skeptic. I wasn't sure. I did my background. I did my research. I think everybody else will, especially healthcare practitioners. But when you get to the other side and you've tried the product yourself and you can, go through that process, I know now what I didn't know before. And now I can speak on from personal testimonies myself, my wife, my family. I couldn't be more excited to tell as many people as possible about this, as I know majority of the listeners on this and that are also in this organization. So thank you, Lisa, because you brought in John, and John, who owned the med spa here in Atlanta, took the time to share it with me. So I actually have you to thank, because this is really, from a personal side, not necessarily the business side, but the personal side of actually allowing my sister and my family to heal very quickly in a surgical situation. I couldn't be more in depth to that. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's, it becomes very personal when we can truly help people around us. It takes it to another level. And that is what fuels what we do. Thanks for acknowledging that. Yeah. Lynn?
And you know what? Personal results speak volumes, because we're not just repeating someone else's results, which is wonderful, because if you really know and trust those results and where they come from, that's what got me, because of personal results I was seeing from people I knew, and then including Lisa when you shared your own results. And for me, just so folks know, in the anti-aging part of it, I couldn't believe it actually did clear. My neck was starting to sag. My eyesight getting better, my skin smoother, my energy. The energy, the mood elevation. It's wonderful for health and healing, and that's like primary importance in our life. But it has these other ways that we live an even more vital life and well-being. And I just think to be able to have a product that can be able to help in that is so powerful. So
yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your awareness, and giving doctors more understanding of how this can be relevant and the safety and where it comes from. So thank you so much. And I'll have more available as needed, more resources.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks to you both.